No, you're either born a visionary. Most people aren't born visionaries. If the world was all visionaries, it'd be anarchy, chaos. It'd be complete insanity.
You said, I don't work with consultants or coaches. I don't work with entrepreneurs. I primarily connect with visionaries.
Yes.
And for me, that was like a jolt.
Hello, my name's Justin Breen, founder, CEO of Brepic and now Brepic Network. And my brain just appeals to all these visionary wackadoos like me that just want to change the world together. So we're all changing the world together.
So all I do is talk to the world's top visionaries. So not business owners, so only visionaries. And then I hear blah, 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 blah. What a visionary actually is, they're the most damaged person. Most people make excuses their whole life. I just don't understand that. What I think is unfortunate when someone finds what their gift is and they don't do anything about it. That I don't understand at all. So a visionary is playing to win. Playing to win. Most humans, business owners, whatever title you want to do it, they're playing not to lose.
I often ask myself, if Mark Zuckerberg was born in Bangladesh, would he have created Facebook?
No. That's overthinking.
Hey, Justin, thank you so much for being my guest on the show, The Ex-Monk's Drive. Such an honor having you here. I'm just wondering, Justin, one of the questions that I ask is if you can recall one such instance from your life, from your childhood specifically, that brings a smile on your face today as well.
A smile. Oh man, so many. From childhood. That's such a great question. Because people ask, like, what's a childhood memory? But you added the smile. I think about high school, if that counts. I got a letter, because this was before email, but a letter that I had received a full academic scholarship to the University of Illinois. I was really happy about that.
And what's so special about that?
Well, there are multiple reasons. One, getting a top-notch education, full academic scholarship to a Big Ten university. University of Illinois is our state school. The scholarship was called the Illinois War Veterans Memorial Scholarship. So you had to have a parent or a close relative who had served in either World War II, Korea, or Vietnam, and then they had to have been passed away as well. And then you had to have a high ACT score. So I qualified with that. And then the relative was my father. He was in World War II and Korea, and he had passed away. So, so a lot of meaning behind that scholarship.
Thank you for sharing that. Instances like this, they actually shape us who we become today.
100%.
And I have several instances like that. I still remember when I was in third grade and I got clearance that I'll be going to another school.
Yeah.
And as the kids would call it, big school. When I landed in that school, I realized that how I'm out of place because children out there, they belong to much affluent families. They speak better than me. They dress better than me. And that left me with an impression that I'm not good enough. And it took me several years to get out of that. What do you think? How has your childhood crafted your life, who you are?
Yeah. I mean, so I see why, the word monks is in the title, because you're a deep thinker. I strongly feel you're either born top entrepreneur or not. I just think you're either born like this or you're not. And my childhood, I was just born to be this person. Like I was talking about my dad, he was 61 when I was born, 61. So he was born in 1916. And then again, served in World War II and then Korea, became an attorney in the Nazi war crimes, Nuremberg trials. So my childhood, he died when I was 13, but he always would say the cream rises to the top. The cream rises to the top. So that's chapter 1 in Epic Life, this book. But so you're either the cream that rises to the top or someone who makes an excuse. That was shaped from very early childhood understanding. You either do something, execute, or you just waste time with inaction. And I'm not. So I'm just like, just do something. That's the only way you can learn anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said your father moved to the different world when you were 13.
To move to the different world. That's an interesting perspective, way of looking at it. A different world. Whatever world it is. I mean, he's still here somewhere. We have two sons, 9 and 10. They're both visionary maniacs like me. With my wife's a pediatrician, so she's like love, kindness, very high level IQ, scientific brain. So they've got that mixture. But our oldest son is named after my dad. He's like a little version of my dad, who's in this world now. And then my dad's definitely watching over him. And then our youngest son, Chase, he's 9. And when he was 8, I was talking to him. We had dinner and he was talking about what life is, like my dad is in him as well. So he was saying life is one long, great day. So there's no Monday or August or, so yesterday's before you're born, tomorrow's after you die. So my dad's in tomorrow. And then so my son Chase, he's like, there are only 2 ways to have a great long day, great life. So one is create more living things. Fundamental purpose of any living thing is to create more living things. So that could be a human life, a plant. You could plant a tree, or build a company foundation that's alive. And then 2 is do what you like to do and what you're good at, and keep getting better at it. So my dad's in tomorrow. Kids and I are in today.
Thank you for sharing that. Interestingly, I call my daughter Neer, and that after my mother's name, when she moved on last year. And so my mother is all around always.
100%.
Yeah. And I love it when you said that the cream rises at the top.
Right.
And you said that's the first chapter of your book as well, The Epic Life.
Yes.
Yeah. What was that moment when you thought of writing a book? And that too, how did you come up with the title of this book?
Great question. Okay. Great question. So, there's a long answer to that, but I'll try to simplify it. So most of the people I talk to, I spend my day either with my family or talking to the world's top visionaries. So not humans, not business owners, not consultants, just pure global changing the world visionaries. Most of them in Gallup, Clifton, Strength Finders, they're top 5 in ideation. They're idea, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, shiny. So I am the opposite of that. I'm almost dead last in ideation, very low. Almost all of the great ideas in my life come from a visionary. And then when I know it's a great idea, which is very rare, but I'll know it, then my top 3 strength finders are activate, maximize, achieve. So one of the chapters in the book is name your years. Name your years. My friend Joe Martin, PR partner Joe Martin, great guy. He names his years. So 2020 was global growth. 2021 was no limits. I was on a show like this a couple of years ago, talking to the host, who's also a great friend, PR partner. He's part of new company, the invite-only connectivity platform, Bill Bloom. Oh, your first book was called Epic Business. Maybe your second book could be called Epic Life. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I'll just do that, and then I'll name my year Epic Life. So just named it. 2022 was Epic Life, and then the book became Epic Life. But it was all in the epic theme. So like PR firm is Brepic Communications, second company is Brepic Network, first book was Epic Business, second book is Epic Life. Whenever I write a third book, it'll be Epic Family. All ideas, almost every idea comes from someone else, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah, Justin, you said, I don't work with consultants or coaches. I don't work with entrepreneurs. I primarily connect with visionaries.
Yes.
And for me, that was like a jolt. For the longest period of time, what I've read in books is that all entrepreneurs are visionary. And here,
completely incorrect.
Tell me more about that.
Completely incorrect.
How do you define visionary?
Thank you for asking that. And I see how you engineer human side of human. You're an engineer of humanity. If you really want to understand the humanity behind engineering or vice, I can hear it. But okay. So all I do is talk to the world's top visionaries. So not business owners. No. So only visionaries. And then I hear blah, 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 simplify into patterns, blah, 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 blah. Because most of the people I talk to are ADHD. They're all over the place. And then like, I think you're a simplifier like me. You hear blah, blah, blah. Here, give me the answer, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And a visionary can be a one-person. Visionary has nothing to do with employee count at all. You could be a one-person visionary. That has nothing to do with employee count. Okay. So business owners, humans, consultants, whatever that is, they care about office space, employee count, revenue, transactional,
operations, supply chain,
whatever. So they're trying to change their world there. True visionary, again, has nothing to do with anything except attributes and mindset. So visionary cares about purpose, connectivity, transformation. They're trying to change the world, the fundamental difference. A their world person is a transactional. A the world visionary is transformational. So that's one. And to double down on that, and I think this answers your question further, and you just want the answer, so I'll give you the context. So our companies maybe partner with 1 out of 1,000 people. It's probably less than that, but it's just easier to say 1 out of 1,000. And these people have only 3 attributes in their mindset, only 3. Simplifier. So 1 is they're a visionary. Okay. They see things before other people. They care about business, but the business is only the extension of that vision, of that purpose. Okay. It's not revenue. So that's one, visionary. 2, abundance, no scarcity, no limits. When someone has limits, someone with no limits can't help someone who has limits. It's a different conversation. So only abundance. Here's where the visionary who thinks they're a visionary and someone who lives in abundance, this is where they get trapped. It's the third thing. We only partner with folks that look at things as investments, not costs. So if someone asks, what do you cost or charge? They're not a visionary, period. They're not. If someone asks, what is an investment? Because if you ask, what do you cost? Then you're living in scarcity and you're not a visionary. That's where I see the people that think they're visionaries, they're actually not, because they're still living in cost transactional world.
So you spoke about abundance, you spoke about investment, and you spoke about the vision, the first part, right? Somebody who's looking forward for transformations, and then abundance, the mindset of an abundance, and who is willing to invest. Help me understand, all the visionaries that you have come across, how contextual is it? I often ask myself, if Mark Zuckerberg was born in Bangladesh, would he have created Facebook? I don't have an answer.
That's an overthinker. Okay. I don't think about that stuff at all. And I appreciate brains like yours. I don't think about it at all. The cream rises to the top. That's it. I don't think about the person somewhere that didn't do something because they didn't find a way to do something. I'm focused on the person that does something no matter what. And I introduce them to that other person. Because again, when someone has limits or thinks about limits, the unlimited doesn't want, it's a pointless conversation. People create their own limits with their own thinking. That's what it is. So one of my favorites, the wrong word, it's not the right word, but with our PR partners. So his grandfather was decapitated in front of him in Burma, not Myanmar, Burma. His grandfather was decapitated in front of him. He was a child. Then he went to Hong Kong with $10 in his pocket. Him and his dad, when he was a kid, they created 2 8-figure companies. And then he's older now. He hired my firm to, because he created an at-home robot for folks with dementia and Alzheimer's, because his mom has Alzheimer's and dementia. So either you can do that or you make an excuse. Most people make excuses their whole life. I just don't understand that.
Yeah. And, you spoke about not all the entrepreneurs are visionaries. And you also spoke about that because a visionary could be a single person as well.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, because what happens is a business owner labels people instead of labeling mindset. They label people because the business owner thinks an employee count or revenue. They don't look at the mindset behind the person. That's the whole point. I only look at the person, whether they have those three attributes: visionary, abundance, investment. And when someone doesn't have that abundance or investment mindset, they're their own limiters. So they can't be a visionary. It's very simple. Yeah.
Beautiful. Somebody who's a visionary, somebody who has this mindset of abundance and the investment mindset. Yeah.
My father was shot down multiple times in combat, many times without a parachute, and got back into a plane. Most people can't do that. They're not visionaries. They make excuses.
Yeah. Help me understand, Justin, when did you develop that interest that you would want to interact with only visionaries? What was that moment? What intrigued you in visionaries? And that's one question. The second question is, how did you differentiate that? How did you create that distinction between entrepreneurs and visionaries?
Oh, well, all I do is talk to visionaries, and then I see the same pattern over and over. And then when someone's not a visionary, they're pretending to be one, but they're still living in cost, scarcity. They're not a visionary. They're just talk with no action. They would get shot down in the plane without a parachute. They'd never get back into another plane. They'd talk about it. But they'd never do it. They'd never do it. Again, they're their own limiter. But for 20 years, I was an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist. I did not know that until starting first company in 2017 with zero business background. But I was always looking for people who weren't making excuses and interviewing them because I was just drawn toward them. I've always been drawn toward driven visionaries. And then visionaries, usually but not always, are aliens within their own family communities and verticals. The only people that understand us are top visionaries on planet. So I guess the equivalent in a verbal communication sort of way of being shot down in an airplane without a parachute and you get back into another one is I spent most of my life talking to people who didn't understand what I was talking about. And I just kept talking like this and then realized the only people that understood it were top visionaries on planet. So I just kept talking to them and then realized true gift is just connecting them so they can change the world.
Just out of curiosity, what do you get when you connect people? Because I've come across so many people, not so many, rather few people who call themselves connectors, and they are so happy when they connect people. They are so happy.
I see. So you want to engineer my human side. And so I'll give you the answer to that. So again, in Gallup Clifton Strength Finders, there's 34 of them. I am dead last in empathy, dead last. Sympathy is different than empathy. Second to last in includer. For visionaries, I have endless empathy, endless inclusion, endless wanting to understand. So by doing that, connecting them, I get to fulfill purpose of my life, which besides hanging out with my wife and children is to be connecting superhero for every visionary who shares their stories with the world, not there. Visionary, the world. So I never get tired of it, never get bored with it. It's incredibly fun. Get to serve purpose of my life, allows me to see my family whenever I want to. It's incredibly lucrative, allows me to talk to people all over the world. It's beautiful. And then you're born with certain gifts, right? You're born. So most people, to your earlier point, they never even find out what their gift is.
That's so unfortunate, isn't it?
Well, I guess I don't think about it in that aspect. See, so I connect people like you to people like you because you think about everyone else. What I think is unfortunate when someone finds what their gift is and they don't do anything about it. That I don't understand at all. That's just nonsense to me. That's the person that still looks at, they think they're a visionary, but it's looking at things as costs. So they know what they're supposed to be doing, but they don't invest to do anything about it. That's crazy to me.
I remember my first conversation with you, Justin, where you mentioned about Epic Life is all about building collaborative companies while putting your loved ones first.
Yes.
And during our conversation, all the conversations that we have had, you have spoken about finding that balance where you can continue to do and operate from the gifts that you have been blessed with while maintaining and giving time to your family as well. And not very often I come across so-called entrepreneurs who can keep that balance. When did you realize that as much as we need to invest on our work and operate from our gifts and continue to hustle, it's
Yeah.
equally important to take care of your family and your loved ones
More
as well.
important. It's more important. Yeah, not equally, more important. So again, everything is a pattern, everything. And all I do is talk to visionaries. And this has nothing to do with silver spoons. This has to do with visionaries who came from nothing or basically nothing. Or so these are the 4 things that separate visionaries from everyone else. 4 things. 1 is bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. 2, depression. 3, highest level of anxiety you can imagine. 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So for humans and business owners, consultants, those are excuses. Limiters for a visionary, that's the fuel, that's the motivator. So what an entrepreneur, what a visionary actually is, they're the most damaged person, most damaged. Most of the people I talk to are 3 or 4 of those 4 things. Most of them are all 4, frankly, but so most damaged person with the best coping skills. So the highest IQ, highest EQ, most hustle, most courage, no excuses. And then they use those coping skills to create all this stuff. They create all this amazing stuff, and then they torch their family or never have a family, multiple divorces, don't see children in the process. So formula for creating a successful global company is simple: is you see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. So I just look at Epic Life, the book, as a successful global company. The problem is entrepreneurs torch family, never have one for entrepreneur life. That's a problem. Create solution, book, problem solved, and then successful global company. Talk about it, and it keeps doing really well. So I know that's what most entrepreneurs, what visionaries want. They just don't know how to do it many times because they're so damaged. And then the coping skills are the shield. They're the shield to create all this stuff. That's all it is. Entrepreneurs is just a big shield with their high IQ.
And I'm just wondering, as you use the word damaged, anxiety, highest level of anxiety, traumatic, traumas, depression, then they identify a problem, they solve that. What is driving them if they're dealing with so much of traumatic experiences, anxiety, depression, damaged, broken?
Thank you for, that's a great question. Again, most people aren't born like this. They're just, they're not. Most people would not get shot down in an airplane without a parachute and get back into another plane. They wouldn't. One of my great friends, Dr. Doug Brackman, he wrote the book Driven. He's a pure visionary, and then he's studied visionaries. Visionary brains, it's a different brain. It's a different type of brain. So most humans have like a farmer brain, like a sheep brain, herding animal. And then a visionary has a hunter brain. So while the sheep are grazing, we're looking out for danger, we're protecting the sheep. So it's really, even though we're humans, it's like a different animal altogether. Different brain, totally different brain. So that's the driver. But if you think back, century upon century, there was a certain type of human that kept the other humans safe and secure. So that's really what, we didn't really live in houses and stuff. These are all creature, we couldn't just order food whenever we wanted to. We had to go get it. So that's where the drive comes from. It's a genetic thing. And then it's like talking a different language to people that don't understand it. They just kind of stare at you because they just want to herd among the sheep. That's all they want to do.
Yeah. In my mind, I'm just trying to decipher different roles that one can play. Role of a visionary, role of an entrepreneur. What are the similarities there? Are both these people creating something new? One is for transformation. The second one is for transaction. One can be a single person focusing on challenging the status quo. The second one would be more focused on maintaining the P&L.
Oh, tremendous. Okay, tremendous. So a visionary is playing to win. Most humans, business owners, whatever title you want to do it, they're playing not to lose because they're their world. A visionary, the world person is playing to win. No excuses. Play to win. The true visionary should be rewarded the most because they risk the most. They risk the most by playing to win. And then they're the ones many times that have the worst family situations because they've risked everything for changing the world.
wouldn't that be common with entrepreneurs as well? Because entrepreneurs also they can go for bankruptcy, or they have the tendency to go for bankruptcy, as you mentioned, right? Even they go to win, and they go through all the stress as well, right?
They do. And I think for this show's purpose and to satisfy your brain, because I'm trying to relate to your brain. Visionary and entrepreneur, in this case, on this show, are close enough. I would separate those two words from business owner, consultant, human, employee.
Yeah. No, I can see
It's-
there are certain overlaps, and yet there are very key distinctions, because what you mentioned about visionary, abundance, and willing to invest where they can go bankrupt as well. So that has landed really.
Dr. Akindele. He's one of Africa's top entrepreneurs. He's lost millions, if not billions. He's gained millions, if not billions. So I was telling him about those four things. He took it a step further. He says you have to go through all four of those. This is him saying this. You have to go through all four to transfer from pride to purpose. He said the only way you can go from pride to purpose is to go through all four. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm three of those four, knock on wood. The only thing I've never had to fully worry about is bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. And I know I'm a pure visionary, but he insists you have to go through all four. So maybe he's right, maybe he's not. I know when I first started first company in 2017, I was still talking but at the time it was small business owners or humans or consultants. And out of those four things, it was ones and twos out of those fours. Very rarely it was threes and fours. Very rarely. Now it's almost always threes and fours. Yeah. Almost always.
Justin, as a visionary that you are, where do you draw your inspiration from?
My family.
Tell me more about that.
So Earl Nightingale's he's my favorite. He's the OG of like motivational speakers. He was doing audio recordings in the early 1900s. And my favorite quote of his is, "Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal." And then I see our two children who are 9 and 10. The 9-year-old already said he wants to take over the companies that I helped start. And the 10-year-old is a potential Olympian distance runner. He's that good of a distance runner.
Wow.
And his top 5K time is 20:38. That's really fast for a 5K for an adult. So he's 10. And then my wife, our first date was the day before she started medical school. She's a pediatrician. And then a couple of months ago, she went down a day as a pediatrician, and she's the COO of my second company, which is LinkedIn for Visionaries. And since she's been the COO, I don't care about revenue at all, but just because my family inspires me. But she's in 2 months as COO, she's made almost $250,000 US for the second company. Wow. And with zero business background. She's a pediatrician, no business classes at all. And then going through medical school, you don't do that unless you're pure driven. And so I've seen my wife from day one go through medical school. So she inspires me. Our children inspire me. They're already bigger visionaries than I am. My father was pure visionary, cream rises to the top. And then when he was in his late 50s, a drunk driver hit him. My dad broke every bone in his body and survived. And then he woke up, and my mom was his nurse. My dad thought he was dead, and my mom was an angel, but it was my mom. She was 27 when I was born, and all I do is talk to top visionaries, and I've never met anyone with more hustle than my mom ever. She's the ultimate survive and thrive, and she's still alive, and she's a great grandma. So that's where my inspiration really is. And then if it's not someone with the drive and hustle of my family, then it goes horribly wrong very quickly. They're like the litmus test for everything else.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm happy. I'm very glad that I asked you that question. Justin, you have spoken and interacted with so many visionaries.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite, if I may use this word? I know that's not your best word.
Favorite? Besides my dad, Jack Schuler Scholar Foundation. He's a Forbes billionaire, and he's over 80. He's giving away all of his money. Over the last 20 years, he's given 9 figures to underserved kids in Chicago, Milwaukee, Wisconsin area to go to schools like Harvard and Yale for free, Stanford. So after he dies, he has, I think, a 30-year sunshine clause. He's giving away all of his $1 billion+ to do that. So that's a pretty inspiring one. They've been great PR partners. Greg Washington, he had the gun to his head and he was about to pull the trigger, but his cousin called him. So he answered the phone instead of pulling the trigger. He suffered from PTSD. He's a veteran in Afghanistan and played football at Army. American football, played American football at Army.
Yeah.
And then, so he walked 1,800 miles from his dad's hometown in Mississippi, 1,800 miles. So like 2,500 kilometers, something like that, to West Point, where Army West Point is, to raise awareness for PTSD and suicide in soldiers in the US military. So those are two pretty good ones. Like if it's not someone like that who has that type of a purpose, I get bored.
Isn't that a blessing to interact with visionaries like this?
100%.
every
Not only is it
day
a
you can get-
blessing, but it's the purpose of my life. That's my point. It's you asked the question earlier, why do you love doing this? This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So what an honor that is to be one serving purpose of life, but then it's truly people like that who are genuinely changing the world. I don't think about the person in Delhi that didn't make it. I don't think about that person. I think about the person that did make it, and then I connect them to someone who did make it, and then they can help everyone else. And that's a
Beautiful.
blessing for me. It's a blessing.
Let me just change the gears and let me ask you this question. And this is
Yeah.
something that I ponder on, Justin. I don't have
Yeah.
an answer.
Hmm.
I believe that all of us are born with some karma.
Agreed.
All of us are born with some purpose in our life.
Yes.
And here, when you're talking about the cream rises to the top,
Yes.
either you make it or there are no excuses.
Right.
How do these two things come together? Now, out of curiosity, let's say tomorrow, if I make a declaration that I would like to create something as abundant, as big, as expansive as something that Oprah has created, if I declare that,
Right.
how would I know that it's either a part of my purpose or not?
No.
Will I be able to create that or
No,
not?
no.
How do you bring these two
No.
together?
No. That's overthinking. There are two things. One is somewhat funny. But okay. Whenever I've had a truly great idea, which is very rare, with second company, high price point, invite only connectivity platform. 2 or so years ago, I was driving in my car and I saw the company. I just saw it. And I never get like this. And I just floored the accelerator. I was driving very fast, luckily by myself. I just knew it. Okay. So I just knew. There wasn't overthinking at all. The only way to do anything is you just do it and then you see what happens. Okay. So that's one. Two, if I have a great idea, again, which is rare, I will test it on humans. Someone who's not like, oh, hey, I'm doing this. And then the human laughs and says it won't work. Then I know it's a great idea. So I just use a human as a litmus test for like, and if they're like, oh, that's really interesting, then I'm like, uh-oh. But that's never happened, actually. They've only said, oh, that's not going to work. And then they laugh. Or they say, no one's going to pay for that. And I go, okay, thank you for telling me that.
So does it mean that anyone can create anything?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, you're either born a visionary. Most people aren't born visionaries. If the world was all visionaries, it'd be anarchy, chaos. It'd be complete insanity. No, that would be horrible. No, God, no.
How can we settle with the fact that I'm not a visionary, so I cannot create something as big as
but you can
so-and-so
live
has
your
created?
purpose of life. If someone loves being a cab driver, loves it. If someone loves being a fourth grade teacher, loves it. If someone loves bagging groceries, they love it. If someone likes partnering with companies that are in the 2 million to 5 million range and they love it. If someone likes being a lawyer, they love it. Great.
So it's all about digging deeper, taking a pause and looking at where do you draw maximum happiness from and continue to do that. Super. Thank you so much, Justin. Justin, here's the last question. What are you sure about with 100% certainty?
That I'm a great dad.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Justin. An absolute pleasure. And would love to sit with you again sometime on the same podcast to listen to more stories that has inspired you And I'm sure they're going to inspire our audience as well. So thank you for being on this show.
You're welcome.